Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Enchanting Glory podcast. This is Jacob Sapochnik, your host. And as you know, this is a show where we interview the most inspiring entrepreneurs, business people, and just cool people from all over the world that share their ideas and innovation with us and help us be better at what we do. And today we continue our tour around the world. Last week we had an amazing entrepreneur from France, and today we go to Israel, and we have a very exciting, upbeat, and a very gifted person. Her name is Idit Neuderfer, and Idit is she's an actress. She won in 2014 Lobes Magazine's one of the most for people to make you fulfill your dreams award. She's selected by SBC as the Mentor of the Year. She has a very innovative approach to what she does as far as presenting and talking to people as far as learning about ideas and how to give a killer presentation. And I wanted to welcome Idit to the show. Welcome, Idit.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I'm happy to be here.
I'm very excited that you are here. I mean, people that are not popular TV shows in Israel. And I'm just excited to have you here, and you can tell us more about you. You are now in Israel at this moment, correct?
Yes, it's correct. And it's night now when you are having your lunch.
Exactly, perfect.
Yeah.
So I gave a little intro about you. I mean, you're obviously you're coming from the world of theater, of performance, and you're doing a very innovative thing by combining this and trying to cross over to the business world. And there's so many things we can learn from this. So before we dive into a bit about your background and how you got to where you are now.
Well, I'll start with the way I always start in almost every lecture I do, which is to tell my story in 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And even now, we already kind of started the learning, the studying, how we can actually do this 30 seconds as a teaser.
Right.
So let's say like 5 years ago, I was supposed to be one of the happiest person in the world, and that is because I was a full-time job on television. I was on shows, on stages, big stages, night after night, but I was not happy. Like there was something inside me that kept on saying, you can do more than this, you can do more. And everybody used to tell me, cool down, redhead. They said, because you are a redhead, mm-hmm. I have a red hair, mm-hmm. and also my character is like that. So I cannot sit down quietly, and I'm always looking for the next thing. Well, it's true in a way, but this thing just didn't let go. So it pushed me forward to go and investigate more and more worlds and marketing and a lot of the secrets of awareness, body language. And I got into this arena from a feeling that there's something that I can do with it, which is different. And at a certain stage, I took all those tools together and I combined them with the world that I'm coming from, which is the world, as you said, of theater mm-hmm. and acting. And then I created this technique, which I call it the redhead technique. So usually I like half a minute, mm-hmm. and now it was, of course, a little bit more. And then I stop and I ask the people that are in the audience, like, what did I do? And people say, you introduced yourself. And of course, then I start asking them questions about, mm-hmm. was I really? And if I would ask you to introduce yourself now, what would you say? So probably your first, last name, your status, maybe your age, if you're not a woman, where you come from, and all those things that we can get if we read about you on Google or if you give us your ID in a way. Hot enough. That's not mm-hmm. interesting. That doesn't create the teaser for an ongoing conversation, an ongoing presentation. So that's how I give my natural, my background.
So basically what you've done, you've given some sort of a personal tip, some sort of personal snippet into your life, and that creates an interest for people to find out more. Well, she had this issue. What did she do to make her life better?
Yeah, and also mm-hmm. I create, usually when I ask people, what do I do? So many people say, so why did I tell a story? And then I say, because it's something that we can identify with. And I say, of course, very good. So if we can identify with something, or if we create some kind of a feeling, because, if I feel maybe someone in the crowd, most of the people at a certain point of their age, they felt the same. They were in a certain place in their life and they wanted a change. Maybe they did and maybe they didn't. But this thing that I'm talking about, you can recognize it in your own life. And then if you create this, which is a very strong feeling, the audience connect with you and they want to hear more because they can recognize themselves. And there's nothing more than we like in the world to see ourselves in different variations, because we're all, we're creatures of ego. We love ourselves so much. We want to see ourselves in every kind of way. And we like movies and television actually from the same reason, because we identify with some characters. And we want to see how they create different situations in their life. Maybe things that we didn't have the courage to do. This inspires something else. And this makes us want to listen more, want to see the next chapter if it's a television series, or we want to see the end of the movie, and we want to listen to the next stage of the presentation. That's our purpose.
Exactly. And what I like about this, and another thing that you do that I read, is you have the thing called a cocktail, which is a mix of theater, comedy, and marketing. Why don't you share with us exactly what it is, and how can business people and professionals benefit from this?
Well, again, to create something, to create some kind of feeling, because as I say, a cocktail immediately takes us to a story, it takes us to a picture, to a sense, because we all know that, cocktails belong to a cocktail party or to when we go to the bar. And then it immediately takes us someplace. So as you can already understand, everything I use, if it's the words that I'm using and when I describe what I do, then always it's something that I want to create and influence the other person, which are abstract, or write them as a slogan. I always want to shake or create some kind of an impact on the person in the other side. If it's the other side of the computer, if it's the other side of the room, which is my audience, if it's the person next to me in one-on-one session with a potential client, if it's my team, if it's an investor. Each and every one of the people that I just described, they want to be touched. We all want to be touched. So I call this thing a cocktail because I need to shake a cocktail a little bit, and this is what I do in my presentation lectures and workshops. I shake the people, also physically, as you saw on one of the videos, but also mentally. It's very important to shake some things up because we are, again, I say all the time, we are creatures, again, of habits. We are used to do things in a certain way. This is how we are, maybe we were taught, maybe we trained ourselves, maybe it worked until now, so we don't want to change anything. But sometimes the next step and to move on, you really need to shake some stuff. You need to shake yourself. So my cocktail, first of all, actually shakes you. Because I give the worlds, the combination between the world of theater, which is a world of very, very, people are very open, people are very flexible, very creative. They are people that touch each other, and they don't have any problem to express their emotions. They are usually also very loud and also always like in the front of the stage. And I put this at the same, let's say with the cocktail symbol, glass, with the business personas and the business methods, which are exactly, supposedly, the opposite. It's a world that comes from manners. It's a world that comes with the suit and tie. Most of these people, when they do business, touching is not a part of it. It's a lot about saying the right thing at the right time and creating a persona which is some kind of more introvert. Usually a lot of business people, they can like talking in front of the crowd, but a lot of them prefer to be on the other side and let other people talk. They want to be behind the scenes. So when I combine those two together and I shake it up, this is the cocktail.
Right.
Because when you give a little bit of this, the craziness and the flexibility and the shaking up to the business world, and you bring the business, which is the side of the manners and the suit and tie and the being together, then something new can come out. You can still stay a business person, but bring something that I call it to be a redhead, actually, something else, something that people will remember.
And notice for every time they see you, and it kind of stays in their head, as opposed to just forget about you.
I think one of the most important things for a person that comes on stage, if it's in a conference or again as an entrepreneur, to his investor, or if it's a CEO in front of his team, people to remember you and something that you made that was different than the person before you.
Correct.
Because Jacob, you and I know, and probably all the people that listen to us right now, that there are so many people today that are doing presentations on daily basis in order to get the other client, in order to come to an investor and to get money for the project or whatever it is. And there were so many before you, and there will be so many after you. What we're in touch with in those 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or half an hour, remember you, and will want to work with you and want to see you one more time, and not the other person that came before you or after you.
Right. And you don't have that much time to make that connection. So you have to be fast, accurate, and to the point. I love that.
What's funny, the usual, if I can add,
Sure.
is that it's very, very funny that a lot of people say, there is time, you can talk and you can create the conversation. And I had a very interesting talk a week ago when I was in New York with one of the biggest, I cannot say the name, but he's one of the biggest Israeli people that made a very, very, very big exit with one of his projects. And now he's a huge investor. And he told me that the thing that happens when someone comes into the room to a meeting with him, from the moment he gets inside from the door until he comes to sit in front of him, when he like him or not.
Wow.
Now, then we have the 30 seconds, the first 30 seconds, that can maybe influence a little bit, but they cannot change the way a person thinks of you the moment you got into the room. And from that moment on, actually what we do, and think of yourself for a moment also, what we do with new people that we meet, all the time we're confirming to ourselves that what we thought in the beginning is right.
Correct.
So,
So interesting what you said. So what happens during that few seconds when the person, the way they dress,
Exactly.
the way they walk? What is it about that he mentioned to you? Very interesting.
Exactly. So it's so important and so interesting to really investigate this moment of nonverbal communication. Many years ago, I'm not going to say how much because I don't want you to know my age yet, but it was when I was like 22 or something. So I got a scholarship to learn and to study in a place called SNDO in Amsterdam. And cycling in the snow, which was a very amazing experience for me. While I was studying there, I studied a lot about body language and of contact improvisation and about nonverbal communication. And the most interesting and really amazing structures that I got out of it was the fact that we can communicate so much more without words. So many times, I put the slide in my lectures and my workshops, blah, blah.
Right.
And I say, so many times we think that if we say beautiful words or interesting words, then people would hear that and not just listen to it. And the thing is that it's not true. People can listen at a certain point, but what is really remembered at the end of a conversation is not all the blah, blah, blah. But it's the experience you give people. It's what the other layer that stands there, which creates emotions, which creates contact, intimacy. You can create that the minute you get into the room. And I'll give a huge tool here. Most of it will be if you know how to take the right breath before you get into the room. This is why before when we talked, I told you that many times I work with big CEOs. When we take the one-on-one sessions, they don't want anybody to know that they're working on their presentation skills, on their, all those stuff that they're supposed to be very good at. What we actually work on is communication skills with themselves, even get to meet the other person. And as you go more and more into yourself and you use different meditations and you use different exercises of breathing and you connect with your body and you are totally aware of what you are now showing, what is important is the connection that you create with yourself and then with the person in front of you.
Wow, this is amazing. So if you try to describe it to people who listen right now, because I think that's a great exercise to do. I'm going to actually do it when we're done. What would be like to do that first breath before you enter the room or start your presentation?
So it includes some exercises that are physical exercises that usually I practice with people in the workshops, and I really ask them to do it. One of the exercises is called the laundry machine. And by the way, as the names of my exercises are more and more funny, it works better. As the names that I use and the scribes that I give to, as I describe them in a childish way and with humor, it works the best. And this is what people remember. Much more than if I describe it in like 1, 2, 3, and in a very kind of like square description. Then it doesn't stay. It only goes to your brain. We want to go to people's, when people were children, they had the best time of their life. When we touch these feelings again, then they remember because their body remembers and their emotions remember, and not the brain. This is where we want to work. So one of the exercises, which is wonderful for breathing and also for how your body can be more and more relaxed, is this laundry machine exercise, which is totally fun and so relaxing, and so it really takes all the garbage out. And as we started the conversation and I talked about the cocktail and I said we should shake ourselves up, this is what it does. So if I give you this example for a moment, and all the you can actually do it right now. Imagine for a minute this laundry machines that we used to have, let's say in the 80s or even a little bit before. It's not the high-end, like real cool, ship-shap like laundry machine we have today. They were kind of like okay machines. And then at the end, before the laundry was ready, we had this kind of like you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now it's funny because in Hollywood movies many times to do some kind of like sexy scenes, you remember?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So we're not talking about that, but the minute I talk about that, it's an association that also comes up, which is also good. We'll talk about that in a moment, because it's also something that makes you feel good and it's something very physical. So we take this moment of the laundry machine doing the and then we actually try to imagine that we put ourselves, now don't do it for real, just do it as an imagination, put ourselves in the laundry machine. And then you actually, you turn on the laundry machine until 10. And between 1 to 10, it goes and becomes more and more and more and more and more. All your body gets into this shaking up mood that you really feel that you're taking all the garbage out. Like really, you're shaking the stress, you're shaking the negative thoughts, you're shaking the fear, which we have so much before, important meetings and presentations, of course. So we do that, and it gets also with the voice, because you shake the body and you if you counted yourself until 10, you stop, And with your eyes closed, you just allow the breathing to come in and out in a very natural way. Then you can feel all your body's full with this kind of like small electricity, like a little bit of tickling. All your body is full of that. Now, if you allow yourself, and this doesn't need to take more than half a minute, and if you're like really going all crazy, then you can take a minute. 1 minute of doing all this, and you allow yourself to breathe into this feeling of your body full of this excitement, then you can see and feel how from fear, you turn the fear into excitement. And when you're being excited is a great thing. We all want to be excited in life. You know, when we were children, we were excited about everything. As we grow old, people tell us, you know, what are you excited about? Oh, it's nothing to be excited for. Why not? I say be excited all the time. Being excited and being scared can go on the same feeling
Scale.
physically and emotionally. What you need to do is actually take yourself to the place that you feel excited instead of feeling afraid. Then you get into the room with this excitement and the breath, and of course with a smile, even if it doesn't go on the face, but it's inside now because you feel so good, and you shake everything out. Mm-hmm. The minute you open the door, your energy get in before you. You don't need to do anything special about it. You just come with this energy, which immediately create connection with the other side because everyone, that's it.
This is perfect. And, you know, I think this is something that, you know, we don't really think about it unless somebody tells us. And then once you tell us, it's like, oh my God, how, you know, why didn't I think about it before? It's so obvious. And it's a great tool to use. Idit, there is a thing that you've developed. It's called the BEVS. Is it a method or is it something that you follow? And I'm curious to know what it is. Maybe you can tell us real quick and how it applies to what you just told us.
Sure, I would love to. So as we talked about the Redhead technique, I always say it's based on 3 pillars. And the first one is the WH Pro. We're not going to get into that, but like very gentle, I'm going to say it's all about asking the right questions. First of all, yourself, and then about the other side. And this is all preparation. I'm not talking now about the meeting itself. Then the second pillar is the BEVS, which is a code name for the most 4 elements that are the most important in every presentation we do. And the third one is the spices, which is, again, you know, and you need it for any cocktail. So if we talk about the BEVS, first of all, again, it's a code name. And as we talked before, because we don't want to turn our presentation or our talk into blah, 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 using code names is a great tool because people remember code names and they don't remember long sentences and they don't remember slides with a lot of words on them, but they do remember visuals, pictures, and videos, and they do remember the code names. So this code name is something that goes for B is our body, which is the basic, best, and it's all with B, element that is so important for us to all the time sharpen and be more and more and more aware. How do we use our body? What is the meaning of using our body in a way that connects to the other person's body also? And I don't mean by touching him,
of course,
but not only in yourself and how do I talk, how do I look, what do I now show or not show, what is the other person's body also shows to you, and how can you go on that wave between both of your bodies. This creates so much, you know, intimacy between people. And it's a secret because many people, again, we're not aware of that. And then, you know, we work on our body language and we think, oh, this is important. And Idit says it's the first thing. I'm going to work on put the hand here and how I do this with my hands. This is you know, I'm sorry, but it's not the thing. The thing is about being aware of what you create with your body that actually can take the other side and you're both on the same wave, on the same chapter. You are at the same, even like feeling you're in the same body.
Right.
This is why many times on my workshops, like a workshop that I just did in Cornell Tech in New York, I was working with people that are very, very technical, to do exercises that I call it a mirror exercise. It's an exercise that comes from the world of theater.
Yep.
And it's actually mirroring each other's body. And this thing opened their mind. They were very cynical about it. It was very hard for them to get in. And at the end, they all thanked me about it because they said they were trying something that they never did before. They were actually feeling emotions that they don't even remember they can feel. And they felt it was the first time they actually really, really related to a small group that knows each other for a long time. But they were never in this intimacy, in this situation. So this is about the body. It's not just, as a symbol. It's really something that you can and you should practice. And the second one, the E, goes for your eyes. Because creating eye contact, again, is something that, in our age today, the new age and the people that we're all the time on our smartphone or on our tablets or in the computer. And, people, they don't even look in the eyes anymore. Together, the children are in the iPad, the parents, each of them sitting with their iPhone, and they're in a family dinner. This is not a family dinner, So, and again, this is okay. This is your personal life. Do whatever you want. I don't talk about that so much. I talk more about business relationships. You cannot do the same when you come to a business meeting and you are not used. It's not a habit for you to look at someone's eyes, then you will not do it. And when you will do it, you will feel a little bit embarrassed and you will feel uncomfortable and you will not know actually connecting. This is also something that you practice. I give very, very cool and, again, childish exercises for that opens the heart to people. The other day, I did this workshop for a company called Harmony, and there was this English woman there, a woman from England, and we did this exercises of just looking at each other's eyes, and it's unbelievable to see how much it opens you. It was she was okay with the exercise. She did it and everything. I couldn't see that she was like totally like something changes. And at the end of the exercises, I asked each of them, what did you feel? And what is one word that you can describe that you got from the exercises of looking at each other's eyes? And she started crying. And she said, yeah, it was amazing. And she said that she's a very, very active person. She's a redhead. I mean, her is not red, but in her character. She's very active. She talks a lot. She's very verbal. She talks business meetings and she knows that and she cannot stop. She doesn't breathe. And she said all those things about herself. And she said, thank you so much, because at that moment, I finally took a deep breath. And I wasn't even talking about breath. When she went up on stage in front of the other group and did her 30 seconds as I asked her to do after the exercise, it was totally different. We could really listen to her. We could really connect with what she was, the way she was, which like a few minutes before we couldn't. Looking at each other's eyes. So that's the second thing. That's the second most important element.
And I think it's so powerful, Idit, just before you continue with the other two, because, a lot of our listeners are attorneys and professionals, and when you meet somebody for the first time, if you don't look them in the eyes, if you don't create that connection, it's very difficult to create that trust that you need to bond as a client and continue the relationship. So I think I love that tip.
Yeah, it's so important. Now people say, it's not a problem for me to look at each other's eyes. And then if they don't practice, then it is. I'm not aware of that. The thing is to practice everything before we get to the meeting.
Right.
So the verses, the VS, the second two elements, the V is the voice. Now, voice is something, again, we have our voice. We are used to it. This is how people sometimes recognize us for our voice. I have a low voice, and a lot of people say, you have a different voice. We recognize you by your voice. So we are attached to our voice in a way. at a certain point, we're not even aware to the fact that we talk monotonically. Now, we should practice, and again, I push my clients to practice how you can change your voice also on the side of the tone, but also different rhythms. Now, the another tool that I'm going to give now is for many people, I give this exercise is to actually take a children's book and read it to a child. Now, if you have children, great, take them and read them the book. If you don't have children, take your nephew or your niece or your cousin. If you don't have any child, just find someone to read the book to. Now, the thing is that if you want to make the child go to sleep, read it in a very monotonous way. He will fall asleep. If this is your purpose, go for it. But if you want to make your child, or this child that you read the book to, if you want to make him say, yes, yes, read me more, so then you want to really practice, and you're going to do it very naturally with your voice, because you're going to play the grandma character, and you're going to play the wolf, and all those voices are going to come out because you want to. After you do that, the minute you stop reading the book and the child is doing whatever he wanted to do after, you go and you start working on your presentation. Then you really practice the changes that you can do with your voice. Mm-hmm. We are not aware how many layers we can use in ourselves. Only when we start opening another one and another one, suddenly we see, hey, it's not just one. Idit is not just one voice. Jacob is not just one colors, but we don't use them a lot.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this is a great tip, actually. I never thought about that. I'm going to try it. Absolutely.
Great. And okay, wonderful. So the fourth one, which is actually, this is one of my secrets here. It also starts with S, but I always use this element in order to really capture my audience, even if it's on one-on-one meetings. Because, body, eyes, voice, when I ask the people what did the B stands for, they always get to the body at a certain point. It's not so they get to the body, they get to the eyes, they get to the voice. But to the S, it's very hard for 95%, even a little bit more than that, almost 99%. People don't get to the S. They say, oh, it's a secret. Oh, it's smile. Oh, it's being sexy. Oh, it's spiritual. And I say, yes, 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 but no, it's not the right one. It's not the right one. Yes, it can lead you to that, but it's not that. And at the end, sometimes I run between my audience and I get crazy and I tell them, come on, this is what I'm doing now. This is S. This is S. And then, boom, they said yes. Thank you for letting me run here like crazy. Thank God I'm doing jogging and I'm, in a very good sportive shape. But, so it's funny. I take this S actually to, encourage them also to, shake them up a little bit and shake myself. And they say space. And I say, great. Now, what is space? And how important space is for a good presentation. Now, of course, when we stand on stage and we are in front of a big audience, we have to use the space right. So many people, and this I can body getting into stress. I see people standing and not moving. I mean, standing behind this, how do you call that in English? We call it in Hebrew, duchana noamim. How do you call that in
English? The podium.
Yeah. So, in Hebrew, it can also go to, if you say duchana noamim, then it can go duchana ne'eshamim, which is like,
the accused space, right.
Like in the courtroom. And I see the people standing there. Yeah, the witness stand. I see the people standing. What?
I love the analogy.
Yeah, and I feel like someone is judging them, and they feel the same. Their body language shows the same. Now, the most important thing is that the audience feels the same. Now, we don't want to feel like we're judging anybody. It's not a nice feeling for us as audience. And of course, it's not a great feeling for the presenter. Now, when I say space and to use the space right, I don't mean dancing all around the stage all the time. Sometimes you should just stand quietly, feel your feet on the ground, and be so strong without moving. Unless it's a statement, that's a little bit too much for your audience. But you do want to move. You want to use the space at the right moment in a way that it creates the right impact. Now, a space, again, this is, it could be easy. Of course, it's not. Everyone that comes on stage on my workshop says, oh, space is not a problem for me. And then either they don't move or they start dancing like crazy from one side to the other. So, yeah, it's not a problem. Okay. And then we ask, I ask them, what about space when you come in one-on-one or in front of an investor? And they say, yeah, what about space there? Because mostly it's about sitting. You sit in front of a person, you don't move. And I say, exactly, this is an amazing moment to create an intimate space. Now, in order to really understand what I'm talking about, first of all, we have to practice the first three of the B verses. We have to practice the body thing between us and the body language of our partner. We have to practice the eyes, and we have to practice our voice. More and more, aware of that, and more professional, and those three. Jumping into a space is something that becomes easier. Why? Because when you sit in front of a person and you have this sensation that he has his own territory and you have your own territory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
This is very natural. We all come with our own, personal space, and we come, with everything we have and sometimes we carry with us some kind of like a defense wall that it's we cannot see it, but we can feel it. Now, when I'm talking about creating the space that creates partnerhood, an intimate space, then I'm not talking about many times they say about Israelis that we don't have this personal space. We immediately touch each other. We are very outgoing, but even in business meetings between Israelis, the intimate space, the personal space, this up, we really we need again to connect with our breathing. Now, this is another exercise again that I do, and this all those exercises, by the way, except from the laundry machine, you do need to do them with partners. You have to do them with partners. Now, when you sit in front of a partner and you start breathing deeply, and you start breathing deeply with your partner, at a certain point, you are both breathing together. When you get to this, your partner are breathing together, the space becomes one immediately. And this creates, wow, this is amazing. This is something that people sometimes don't even feel in their own intimate relationship between them and their wife or them and their husband. And then a lot of them tell me, wow, I'm going to practice it with my husband or with my wife because it's so amazing. Now, the second question is that you're supposed to ask me now, or the audience may ask, is, okay, great, but you cannot do that with, the investor.
Exactly.
You cannot do that. Great. This is exactly what I'm talking about. If you practice before, in the moment of truth, when you're out there in the meeting, if you got inside in the right energy to the room, you use your body, you use your eyes, you use your voice. Now you're sitting in front of this person and you started to connect with your breathing, and you're trying to find his breathing also while he's talking, while you're talking. Slowly, something changes in the space. This is huge because the other person, he doesn't know what you're doing. He's not aware of that, but he feels more comfortable with you. He can share his secrets with you. And this happens without him being even aware to the fact that you kind of again, caught this wave of his breath and you're breathing in the same rhythm. So this is amazing, really. You should try that.
And you came prepared. This is a great tip, actually, because and no matter what happens, you're going to own this meeting because you came prepared using those techniques. Wow, exactly. I love that. Well, Idit, we can talk forever. I think you have so much information that you can share, and I think that even in this short podcast, we have a lot of good information that people can already use and make their presentation and communication with others even more powerful. As we come to the end of the show, Can you verbally share with the audience where they can find you online, a website or the best place that they can learn more about what you do?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, there's my website, which is Idit, and the first letter of my last name, which is N. So it's Idit N. And for now, it's iditn.co.il. And so it's very easy. We're now translating it to English. It will be easier for you to read because most of you probably don't read Hebrew yet. And then you have my Facebook page, which is, again, it's my name, Idit Neuderfer, which is Neuderfer. And Idit is Idit. And you have me on LinkedIn, exactly at the same name, Idit Neuderfer. You can find, I was just now coming from New York from a tour of workshops and lectures, and we were just discussing about the next tour, which would probably be to your planet there.
To the West Coast. And
Yeah.
all the links you just mentioned, I'll make sure that they are in our show notes. So whenever the show is released next week, we'll be able to, people don't have to write down. It's going to be in the show notes.
Great.
And those who don't speak Hebrew should learn. Exactly.
Yeah,
Kidding.
why
No,
not?
but it's
Go for it.
your English is beautiful, and I like I said, I can stay here for hours and listen to your more comfortable just talking to I'm entering into a meeting in about 30 minutes, and I will do the exercise before the meeting.
Wow, great. So
Perfect.
please write to me back. You can do it by email or by one of the social medias, and just write to me. How was it? Which one did you use more, and how did you feel comfortable with?
Perfect. And the
Yeah,
same for the
yeah.
audience. If you guys have any feedback, you can email me at jacob@enchantinglaurie.com. Leave comments at our blog on our Facebook page. And thank you so much, Idit, for coming on the show. It was a true pleasure.
you.
We'll see you at our next episode. If you have any other comments, we would love to hear from you. Thank you, guys.